how can we do something different? If we are rebuilding this city, is there a way that we can rebuild it differently than what it was before? And the sheriff and a number of the jail proponents had kind of suggested, and we're moving ahead with jail plans that were comparable to what the size of the facility had been pre-Hurricane Katrina. And that is when the community really began to get involved. And the question that we asked was, in this city that is still rebuilding, how can we spend millions of dollars on building this shiny new jail? So one of the things that we did to really try to represent what the trade-off was between the dollars that we spend on incarceration and the dollars that we could be spending on other programs in New Orleans is we put out a call out, and we asked people if they could give us $22.39 for the cost of buying a newspaper ad. Now, the significance of $22.39 is that is the per diem that our sheriff receives for every single person housed in Orleans Parish Prison, in our local jail. I will say that because we fund our jail out of a per diem system, what you often find is people that will be held in jail until just 12:15 a.m. so that they can book those extra $22. But we asked people if they could donate $22.39 to help us take out a full-page ad in our Times-Picayune. It used to be our daily newspaper. It's no longer a daily paper. That also is for another talk on the changing face of media. But we asked what it was that people would like to see those $22.39 of taxpayer dollars be spent on instead, rather than building a new jail. So, okay, looks terrible when you blow it up on a PowerPoint, but I can promise you it looked very, very impressive when you opened the newspaper that morning and saw the literally hundreds and hundreds of names that had written in to send their checks for $22.39 or $44, or people who said, here's $200 because I want this message to be heard. And these are the things that we noticed. One, we noticed the wide range of what people were asking for. So rebuild Charity Hospital, which was the largest public hospital that had been also shuttered before in the storm. Rebuild the 9th Ward, mental health centers, food pantry, ESL classes for the growing immigrant population in New Orleans after the storm. Fixing potholes. I will tell you, people got super specific about which potholes they wanted fixed. They said, we're putting this in the newspaper, and they were like, there is a pothole on Burgundy Street right on the corner of Clio, and you need to do something about it. So people got really, really specific. But what was also incredibly impressive was the wide range of people who sent their dollars in. And it wasn't just the usual suspects, it wasn't just the activist community, the organizer community, it was the cast and crew of HBO's Treme. It was jazz musicians. Kermit Ruffin sent in his $22 for a food pantry, if anyone's heard him. He's incredible. Former judges, former city council members, and people from every single neighborhood in the city, both downtown in the 9th Ward, but also uptown residents of St. Charles Avenue, who were looking at how we had been doing criminal justice in New Orleans and saying, look, we've got one of the highest arrest rates and incarceration rates in the country, but actually our rate of violent crime is really high as well, and we're not even necessarily attacking the violent offenses. There has to be a better way of doing things. And the city council and the mayor heard that message loud and clear, and on the day that they had to vote on the jail, the entire room was packed, and they ended up recommending that the new jail be 1,500 beds. Now, that is, yes, it was very exciting. And that was from a pre-Katrina size of 7,500. I remember we were so excited, we were posting it, and I got a message from someone. He said, you guys are excited about a 1,500 bed jail? And I said, yes, we are. It's 6,000 fewer jail beds than what we were talking about, and that is a huge victory. it also is millions of dollars that we are still fighting to have spent on the other types of social programs that we ultimately know are going to build real safety for New Orleans. And I'll say that that is one of the most important messages that we can get out there to our elected officials, to the media, but that larger jails, larger prisons do not lead to improved public safety. In fact, the jurisdictions around the country that have seen the biggest increases, or I'm sorry, rather, the biggest decreases in crime are those that have actually reformed their criminal justice systems, and it often correlates with lower rates of incarceration. So it is not a wise investment for us to spend our taxpayer dollars on programs that fail us, not to mention the human costs. So when we packed that city council room, one of the things that a council president, Arnie Filko, said at the time was, we would have never arrived at this without the leadership of people in the community. He said that our understanding that you cannot arrest your way out of the crime problem came from civic engagement, and it came from community leadership, and we as elected officials are following. And that, for me, is one of the most important lessons that we can take from New Orleans. The fight is still going on, by the way. It's been 2 years in trying to actually make the system implement the reforms, such as pretrial services, bail reform, that we know are going to bring down the jail population, has been slow. There's been progress, but it's been slow. But the city remains unwavering in its commitment to building a smaller jail because we laid the message and we laid the understanding and the recognition of that broad support that we have to turn around America's mass incarceration problem. And I'll end just with this, which is the faces, again, of those close to 300 individuals that are serving life sentences in Louisiana now. We've gotten 6 out since the United States Supreme Court decision. A couple of those have spent over 50 years in Angola State Prison, when they were 15, have come out in their late 60s, but are doing very, very well. And there's about 300 more people that we want to get before the parole board. And these are the faces that we keep in our office, that we keep in our work, that we keep in our heart, the stories of them and their families, and the possibilities and opportunities of what a different form of justice would look like, one that didn't send people on different pathways starting at age 15, and also one in which we can restore once again the idea of public safety and rehabilitation into our notion of what makes an effective criminal justice system. So I know that you all are working at the community level, at your campus, on this issue and all sorts of related ones. I urge you to continue to work on criminal justice reform, to know that there is a tide turning in this country. It is only going to turn with our continued efforts. In the words of Dr. King, and I'm about to butcher the statement, but he said, the arc of history bends towards justice. I think we could all add, it only bends towards justice with the strong efforts of people on the ground who are bending it there. And it's a criminal justice issue, but it relates to every single other thing that we fight for. Social programs, education, safe neighborhoods, infrastructure, and fixing the pothole on Burgundy Street. I think we know that there's a better way that we can build a better nation. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking to some of you all about the work you're doing here.
So again, we'll pass this remote mic around to people, so hold your hand up and then hold your question until you get the mic. I'd like to give her another round of applause. That talk was great, so please join me in giving her another round of applause. The title of this series is Rethinking Security Beyond Mass Incarceration. So what we wanted to do with this whole series was to challenge people to rethink things like safety and security and things like that. So that was really great. Thank you. All right, we'll get the first one.